Hi, and welcome back to Management Information Systems. This is Module 2, and I'm your instructor, Mary Jo Black. So now the real fun begins. Let me go back one here. There we go. We're going to learn how to create a complex formula. That's what I mean by the real fun. It's really going to be a fun thing for you to learn. We're going to learn how to insert functions, type a function, copy and move cells, understand relative and absolute cell references, copy formulas with relative and absolute cell references, and round a value with a function. So, the definition of a complex formula is an equation that uses more than one type of arithmetic operator. So you can have a simple equation that says 2 plus 2, but if you start to add other things onto that equation, like 2 plus 2 times 3, you have a complex formula. Arithmetic operations are in order of precedence. And remember in the introduction video, we talked a little bit about going back to our middle school time and talking about the order of operations. And that is going to come into play here when we start talking about complex formulas. So the first thing is that operations inside parentheses are calculated first, then exponents, then multiplication and division from left to right, and then addition and subtraction from left to right. So that's the order of operations for arithmetic operations. But it can get a little more complicated than that. So if we take a look, and I am sorry that my screen is jumping, if we take a look at a complex formula, this would be a great example. When we do complex formulas, we always use that equal sign first. And then you're going to have cell C12 plus C12 times 0.20. So the little star is the multiplication. So a function is a predefined formula that exists within a spreadsheet. You can use it by itself or you can use it within a formula. If you use it alone, you use that equal sign. That's what you start with. If you use the functions, you can go in and use that FX button. So let's take a little bit closer look at that. So if you take a look at, and I'm going to try not to move the screen, at the FX button, that's where you get those functions. And here's an example of a function. This is the average of cells B4 through B11. And here you can see what are called function arguments. And the function arguments are from one point to another. So go from B4 to whatever. So that's what that is for. So let's go to the next slide. So you can type a function in manually into a cell. So the calculation is going to happen within the cell when you type the function. But you need to know the name and initial characters of the function. So let's say you want to do average. If you start to type in AV, you should see that the average will start to pop up. But I usually just cheat and click on that FX button. It's necessary when you type in manually to begin with that equal sign. Once you type the equal sign, it activates what's called autocomplete feature. So it's going to ask you to complete the the function, or not the function, the formula. So if you take a look here, here's a perfect example. This is an example of the maximum function, and it's in progress. It's prompting you to complete that formula. So you can also copy and move data within a worksheet by copy, cut, and paste. Cut has always been one of those things that I've been a little leery of because I click on the cut button and I'm like, oh my God, I hope I don't lose that information. But it does work. You can copy or you can cut and insert it into another area. So what happens when you copy or you cut? What happens is it goes into a place called the clipboard. So it's a temporary area where it stores that information or copies it for you. So here is an example of copied data in an Office clipboard. So you can see that it has those dashes, and what's happened is you've highlighted quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you've copied it, and then you see those dashes. So that's the indication that it's copied to the Office clipboard. Let's talk about relative cell reference. So this happens when you want to preserve the relationship to the formula location. So calculations are performed based on a cell relationship. When you copy a formula, the cell reference changes to preserve the relationship of the formula to the reference cells. So that's like a default in Excel. To use an absolute cell reference, when you want to preserve the exact cell address in a formula, reference does not change even if the formula is copied to another location. That's done by placing a $ before both the column letter and the row number for the cell's address. So that's how you do absolute reference. Now, this may seem a little confusing to you, but when you start to do it in the and go through the steps in the book, it's going to make more sense. So you can also have what's called a mixed reference, which combines both the relative and absolute cell referencing. So when this is a good example. When you copy a formula and you want to change the row reference, but you want to keep the column reference, you do it by using the function for key. Again, we will go through that in your assignments, which will make more sense to you. So here's an example of a formula that's containing a relative reference. If you take a look, you can see that this is a relative reference. It has a $. So here's a formula containing an absolute reference. Again, we'll go through these in your book. You can see that if you take a look down at the bottom here, some of the things that are happening with the putting the $ in, etc. We'll go through that in the book, in your assignments. So to reuse formulas you've created, you use the copy and paste commands. So copying a formula to a new cell. So what happens is Excel substitutes a new cell reference so that the relationship of the cells to the formula remains unchanged. And what it does is it uses the autofill feature for filling the cells with the sequential text or values. So months of the year, days of the week, or text plus a number, etc. Drag the fill handle to extend an existing sequence. So that fill handle is when you take and copy, you click on a cell and you drag it. So that's what they're referring to there. So here you can see a good example of taking that, clicking on the cell and dragging it down. So this is a formula that was pasted in a range. So here what they've done is they've copied it and sorry for this jumping, and they've pasted it into these two columns. So to copy formulas with absolute cell references, you copy the formula, and if you want one or more cell references to remain unchanged in a relation to the formula, this is how you do it. As you can see, what you've done is you've copied it over here. So what if you've taken and copied, if you click on this, you can see this is the formula and then you've pasted it here. So cells containing financial data are easier to read than those that contain fewer decimals. You can use like the rounding function to round down your results. So to make it easier visually for you to see it, you can do it that way. Let me go back. So if you take a look, here is where there is rounding. Equals round and then put in B12 plus B12 times 0.2. And if you notice also in this formula, it's 0.2. They're putting a 0 in front, but round is how you would go ahead and round that. I look forward to seeing you or hearing from you if you have questions. Again, there's going to be a lot of really good homework for you to practice all of this on. And if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you.